Welcome to Restaurant Catering Smarts, your go-to podcast for restaurateurs looking to better operate and grow their catering profit centers. With every episode, you can count on expert advice, innovative strategies, and tasty tips straight from industry leaders. Our purpose is to help your business thrive. So, let's dig in to another juicy episode.
Hello again. I'm your host, Michael Attias, and today's guest is Jessica Lehrer, co-founder of Adam and Joe No Lunch. Her catering company is redefining lunch with vibrant, locally sourced meals for businesses, events, and communities, all with a focus on sustainability and gourmet flavors. Jessica's innovative approach and dedication to supporting local farmers has made her a standout in the catering world. We're excited to dive into her story, but first, a quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by CaterZen Catering Software, the industry leader in helping restaurants turn their catering chaos into calm. Discover why top independent enterprise restaurants trust CaterZen to save them time and increase their catering sales. Go to www.caterzen.com and sign up for a walkthrough of the software or a free 30-day trial. Now let's dive into this episode of Restaurant Catering Smarts. Welcome, Jessica. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No, my pleasure. So I'd like to get everyone started off with the icebreaker question. Give me a number between 1 and 300.
250.
What's the most interesting thing you've ever seen at a museum?
I can tell you my favorite thing I've seen at a museum. I don't know if it was necessarily the most interesting, but the Botticelli's Birth of Venus is my absolute favorite piece of art. And
Really?
It's in Italy, yes. And I remember being completely just blown away seeing
Where
it
is
in
it?
person. It's in Florence.
I love Florence. Absolutely love Florence.
So that was, yeah.
I can't go to a museum by myself. I need a guide. Otherwise, I just walk around like the lost kid in school. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't understand. Yeah. It's like, oh, that looks nice.
Guided is the best way, even if it's just like one of the headset tours.
Yeah.
It really is the best. Otherwise, you don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so tell me, I know your dad, sort of know your brother, know you and your dad from in person coming to Caterpalooza. Mm-hmm. How long has your family been in the business, and sort of how did maybe the timeline, because I know there was a merging of the two family businesses, maybe walk everybody through your background and your family's background.
So my family, like my dad, he's been in the restaurant business in some way, I would say, since he was in his 20s. I mean, I actually think his dad also had a sandwich route, when he was younger, going to the offices. And then my dad did something similar when he was in his 20s. And then they moved to California. My parents, they got married. They were doing other things, before then. Ended up in California and started a restaurant there. So I would say since the late 70s, early 80s, they've been in the restaurant business. So restaurants in California, and those restaurants, they catered to Universal Studios for catering and all over, other corporate stuff over there. Then my family.
Does your dad have any interesting Hollywood stories about catering out there?
I think they do. I mean, I was little. I was only either not born or under 2 at the time, so I don't remember it. I know that they were, catering, to the movie sets, not craft services, but catering to the movie sets and to the executives. And I think the most interesting story that I've heard is that apparently the phone number for our restaurant was the most out-dialed phone number other than the New York office for Universal Studios was
cool.
Our restaurant.
That's cool.
Yep. Yeah. So they definitely have some good stories. I know that they were doing the Hill Street Blues set and some other things that were going on in the late 70s, early 80s. So they were right there, and they must have been, they were under 30, maybe, or just 30. They were young. So they were having a good time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. So how'd they end up in Florida?
Ended up in Florida. So my dad's from Detroit. My mom's from Toronto. And so after California, they didn't really like being on the West Coast. They ended up back in Toronto, had a restaurant there, a regular, kind of 6 day a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner type of restaurant with catering. And my dad absolutely hated the cold. He was like, I can't do this any longer. We got to go somewhere warm. And we ended up in South Florida. And they moved down, and when I was in third grade, and so 1992, 91, 92, opened up a small kind of restaurant, kind of like something similar to what they had back in California, which is just lunch. And, they have grew it from there. My brother was in high school, went to college at the time, and decided that, he really also wanted to start his own business, and left school and started his own restaurant in 96. And then that we kind of just ran like neighbors, helpful neighbors, two separate businesses, that were close by if we needed, a couple cases of tomatoes and the other one had it, but we were completely separate businesses. And we did that until 2017, when my brother and I said, it's time for our parents to retire, and we want to have a better quality of life, between the two families. And so they said, okay, we'll travel and play pickleball. And so that's
Oh my
what
God,
they do
I
now.
do you play pickleball?
I don't.
Really? I love
Yeah,
pickleball. I don't
they
play
love it.
enough. It's so universal. I've got a place in Costa Rica, and they actually have two pickleball courts. One of them's covered. Maybe both
Yeah.
of them are covered. So that just shows you,
Oh, yeah. It's
how
like
it's
the
picked.
fastest growing sport in the world, actually, I think.
Yeah, I love it. It's fast paced. It's basically
Yeah.
ping pong and tennis had a baby.
Yeah. They play
So
every day.
how do you, I know I don't know how we first met. I don't know if it's a Cisco show or maybe through Rory Fad or I
I
don't,
I don't remember if it was a Cisco show. I do remember us wanting catering software specifically. And I know. My dad had been getting your catering, like had gotten
emails.
your book and or something like over the years. So
Yeah.
he kind of you were on his radar. He's always
Yeah.
reading.
I thought I just interviewed Butch Scott with Abbeville Catfish. He was one of the first investors in the catering magic systems. I think
Hmm.
your dad probably bought some of my educational materials,
Yeah.
and then y'all were one of the first software people. And so you've been around forever. How'd you decide to get in a family business? Because number one, to decide you want to be in the food business, that's a
Yeah.
big decision. And then to work with your family,
Yeah.
it's a bigger business.
Yeah. Growing up, I always said I was never going to go into the restaurant business because my parents, being, owner operators of a small, at the time, kind of like just, it was them and a couple of their kitchen staff. They were always married to the restaurant, right? They didn't, they would close for 2 weeks during Christmas and we would take vacation. But other than that, it was restaurant, restaurant, restaurant. And so I was always like, I don't want to do that, growing up. I want to do something else. And I went to school. I graduated. I went to graduate school. I actually was a police officer for a little
What?
while. Yep, I used to be a police
No,
officer.
I
Yep,
would never,
yep.
Peggy.
So,
Okay, so now that
I
you
have a
brought
whole
that
other
up,
life.
I know I need to know, like, were you a beat cop?
Yeah,
What was your,
yeah. I mean, everyone starts off that way. So after college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to use my degree, which is I have a master's in criminology. I'm actually from Cambridge in England. I had gone to England to get my master's.
wow.
And I came home and I was hired by the city of West Palm Beach. They paid for me to go to the police academy, graduated number one in my class.
Not
And
shocking.
I went and worked as a police officer, and it was not for me. Honestly, I missed the restaurant business and being with my family. And I said, I thought I never wanted to do it, but it really was all I wanted to do.
That
So
is so crazy. Like,
yeah,
I know your dad. I'm surprised he didn't like put his foot down and go, "You won't be a police officer."
I think they probably tried to, but I was an adult.
It's too independent.
I don't know if they could have said that.
So two questions. One, do you like to watch all those crime documentaries? Do you find that interesting anymore, or is that just
I do find it interesting. Now there was a time after I was a police officer where I was like, I can't watch this. It was like too much. There are also certain I would say there are certain shows that I book back maybe it's been a long time since I've been here for 17 years now. So it's been a long time, but I remember there was a couple of things I was like, I can't watch this. It's too real or too close to,
yeah?
it's just too dramatic. So yeah.
So yeah, this is supposed to be about catering and food, but I'm just so enthralled. Like, I don't know if I should say this on my podcast. I'll tell this story because it's sort of interesting. It doesn't have to all be educational. I was at Vegas for a show and I was leaving out early the next morning. I had a sinus infection. I was sick.
Mm.
And I heard somebody like 4 seats down, this attractive blonde woman talking about, oh, the models in the house and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, is she part of America's Top Model, like works on the set or production
Right.
or whatever? And I went, the minute I sat in my seat, I fell asleep, woke up, went to the bathroom halfway through the flight. And guess who comes out the bathroom door? This woman. I said, look, I hate to sound like, I was eavesdropping, but at the airport, I heard you talk about, models in a house. Are you, do you work in, television, entertainment? She goes, yeah, I'm a producer. Well, what do you do? Well, she didn't really want to say. I said, well, what do you do? She goes, I work in adult films. I go, what? Okay, you can't go back to your seat. I have so many questions. Like, people are dying to know, like, and I was like, how'd you get into it? And so she told me how she got into the business and what her specialty was and the hierarchy of pay. It was very fascinating. So before we get off this rabbit hole,
Yep.
what is the most interesting thing that happened to you while you were a cop? Like a story that you just don't forget, good cocktail party talk. Like, did you ever take down 350-pound guy by yourself?
Actually,
or...
you know what? I'm actually going to pivot this back to the restaurant very
Okay.
easily for you. I'm going to tie the two together. Okay.
Good.
After I had already left the police department and I am working, in the restaurant, I get a phone call from a woman telling me that she has a charge from her credit card from our restaurant, but she does not live in Florida and she's never ordered from our restaurant. So of course, we have all receipts from everything. I'm able to pull the receipt
Right.
and I find out that it was ordered to basically like a call center kind of room. Okay. It's like a phone room.
Right.
And basically I brought down this entire ring of like credit card scam artists. And it was like, I think they arrested like 20 or 30 people in Florida, in New York, because I was able to investigate and called the Fort Lauderdale Police Department and said, hey, I'm pretty sure there's some sort of like credit card scam going on out of this, office.
I mean,
and it turned out that I was able to like investigate and bring down this entire ring of credit card scammers.
Oh my God, this is like, this could be one of my favorite episodes because it's so crazy. So what were they doing with the credit?
So they were like a healthcare kind of company. And so they were selling either insurance or maybe like devices to elderly people and then taking their credit cards and buying themselves lunches.
It was just like a side scam. It wasn't like
yeah.
It wasn't the Nigerian.
No. And then they were selling the data to like another like credit card scam ring out of like New York. Oh yeah. It was big. It was like a big one.
Oh my God. This sounds like
but because they bought themselves lunch also, they were busted.
Oh my God. You know what? This could be like a movie. Like, the caterer goes in and busts the crime ring. But, it's funny is during COVID, I was in Florida for 13 months, holed up, and I have a Ring doorbell in Nashville. And there was a series of people dropping off DoorDash at my door.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happened was a neighbor down the street, I put my address to deliver the food for Uber, waited till it got delivered, and then just went and picked it up. And somebody else got stuck with the bill. So it's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
That is crazy. So do you do only do lunch?
The actual physical restaurant is only lunch, but catering, breakfast, lunch, dinner, cocktail parties, all time of day for catering.
Are you doing nights and weekends, or you just do Monday through Friday and that's it?
We do nights and weekends for stuff that's large enough. So we have different minimums for, nighttime and weekend. I mean, this weekend I have, we have some pickleball tournaments actually that we're doing. We have some school stuff that we're doing, some church stuff. So it just depends on, if it's large enough to call somebody in. Sorry, it's freezing here.
So did your parents always stick with lunch restaurants so they could be at home at night and weekends for the most part?
Once we moved to Florida, yes. When I was younger and we lived in Toronto, the restaurant was open 6 nights a week for dinner. I think they were closed on Sundays, only Sundays for, the whole day.
Yeah, I remember I spoke at a Cisco house and I took a tour. You came to say hello to your family, and like the amount of catering going out the door like on a Tuesday was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I see your stuff on LinkedIn, and it's definitely a whole next level with presentation, packaging. Will you talk to that and the value that builds and the prices you're able to command? Because, obviously there are people probably getting sandwiches, and you can get sandwiches from low end at a grocery store deli or Subway, and then you can get what you're doing. How does that translate? Where do you feel the packaging and the presentation fit in the value equation and what you're able to charge?
I think it's really more twofold, because we are doing a premium product. So, we're not going to compare ourselves to, Subway or Panera.
Right.
I mean, we're using something that's, a higher end, fresh, completely fresh bread delivered every day. We're slicing the meat here fresh, so it's a little bit different. But I think very specifically, I think where we command and are able to command a little bit of a higher price point is the service aspect, right? So we're not a third party delivery person. We have our own delivery people. If you tell us you need something there at 11:30, it's going to be there, on time, with the driver setting it up with all the things you need to have with it. You don't have to worry about us canceling an order on you, day of, like it might happen with somebody else, So I think the service aspect is a little bit more about why we command a little bit more of a premium product, because our service is a little bit more premium. I think that, the higher end stuff we're doing has kind of grown a little bit more organically, because as people order our food for the regular stuff we do from our regular catering menu, they say, oh, I have, this coming up. Can you do that also? And then it's, well, yes, we can. And, we kind of go from there.
Right. No, I totally get that. It sort of morphs. What are you excited about today in the catering business? Like, what gets you pumped up, Jazz?
For me, it's the creativity. I absolutely love, if there's something new that I get to do that we've never done before. Like last week we did, an event for an African safari company that came in and was like selling their safaris to high-end clients.
Yeah.
And so they said, can you do an African inspired menu and setup? And so, of course I, was with them and said, okay, here's the things that I've researched. This is what I'd love to do. Is this on the right level? And they said, yep, the menu's great. I was able to kind of like decorate the buffet
That's cool.
with like a safari theme. And when they were there and they tasted everything, they said, this is spot on. Like, you hit the nail right on the head. This tastes like, what it should taste like in South Africa or in,
Wow.
Nigeria, like the actual, I was able to hit the flavor. So I think that was exciting, is when
that's cool.
Yeah.
And, when you're dealing with a client like that, it's always great to be working with people that price isn't a budget. I mean, everybody has a budget.
Yeah.
But, I'm guessing they're charging 15 grand a person for these high-end safaris. So whatever you're charging the food to help sell the event,
right,
it's a drop in the bucket, and they're not going to shortchange. They're not going to bring people in for, Lunchables to eat in the middle of a presentation, right?
Right.
Are you using AI for inspiration on any of your designs?
No, I have not. We do use AI a little bit for inspiration. I used to I like, I'm sure you get some of my emails. Sometimes I like to get fun and I like to do rhymes. I think it's like fun to give something a little different to do. And so normally I kind of do it myself. And then I have recently kind of put in like, to ChatGPT, hey, give me, a email that rhymes, based on X, Y, and Z, and I see what it spits out, and sometimes it's great, sometimes it's okay.
Well, it's funny. Wicked just came out around Christmas, and Jill, who's our new COO, and Jillian, who's been with us forever.
Yep.
They're Wicked like fanatics. I fell asleep. Movies are good for me to catch up on sleep. I mean, it was good, but I still fell asleep, and they were just all about it. And they both have dogs. So I went to Chat GPT and I said, I want you to write me a version of Popular from Wicked and call it Popular.
Cute.
And then a guy who works for me in Canada is an actor, and his daughter sings, and I paid her, she's like 12 years old, I paid her $100 to produce the song, and that was one of their Christmas presents.
That's awesome.
Popular. Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I will tell you that I like to do interior design for fun. And I'm redoing my Nashville home, and I've done the kitchen, I've done the den, all just off the top of my head. And I'm sorry, the kitchen and the dining room. I'm redoing the den. I have a wall unit, and I'm trying to make it a little more modern. I went to ChatGPT. I put the dimensions of the room, the what the other rooms look like, the vibe, whatever. 7 iterations later, spot on. So I'm guessing if you say I'm doing an Italian themed buffet, I'm looking for things that aren't common. It's gonna, not that you're gonna copy it exactly, but you talk about inspiration, and it takes 5 seconds. It's ridiculous the advantages we have.
Yeah.
Whether it's writing copy or coming up with menu ideas.
Yep. I definitely use I would say I use Google image search the most for inspiration, and mostly for color. Like in a couple weeks we're doing, the Miami Boat Show is coming, and that we have a lot of people coming in from Italy. And so they, like a very, more authentic Italian menu. So I need some inspiration for color and, what are we having? And so that's, I would say that's usually a lot of the inspiration I get.
I would challenge you to try ChatGPT for design ideas for your buffet, for your presentations. And you're going to be just send me an email or whatever, and let me know how it works for you. I think you're going to be surprised. Like what I sent my designer, one of my best friends from childhood, his mom's 85, and she helps me. She was a top designer in Memphis. And when I sent her the design, she's like, my God, I can't believe that just came out of AI. It's ridiculous. Wow. Yeah, it's next level. And I was able to send it to my carpenter, and he's going to be able to, it's good enough that he can look at what they designed. It's imperfect, but he can build something off of that. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
And I would have never come up with the idea on my own in a million years. So through all the Google searches.
Very cool.
So let's talk about, obviously I've known your family forever. What have y'all done to build that catering business out of your restaurant?
Yeah.
I know you're in an office industrial park, so I guess the low-hanging fruit were the offices and businesses around you.
Yep.
Tell me where you got started and sort of your marketing.
Yeah. For us, our most successful tried and true marketing has been in-person, cookie drops, saying hello, even cold calling. That's always been, no matter, and quite honestly, no matter how much online marketing we've ever tried to do, and we've tried over the years doing it ourselves, we've tried paying for ads, we've tried bringing in outside marketing companies. The most successful for us has always been in-person, actual physical contact or phone contact with real people to get in there. And that's just been the most successful.
Are you doing any lead generation anymore, or have you just gotten so busy that the phone's ringing and you got all you can say grace over?
Yeah, we are not doing any more lead generation right now. Honestly, it's hard to follow up with the funnel, potentially. And also our own book is so large of who we have that if we haven't heard from people in a while, you need to, call your own customers. Maybe they have a new admin who's not the same admin you had before, and that's why you're not hearing from them.
So when you talk about the funnel is too, did you say the funnel's too large? What do you mean?
No, I'm saying if you're getting the lead generation from like an outside customer, sometimes it's hard to sort through what's being sent to you.
Oh, I got
And
you.
that takes time. It takes time to take the time to comb through the leads.
Yeah. Well, I'm really, we talked about it. AI, I feel like I've been thinking about AI for probably 4 or 5 years. I think eventually the voice is going to get there where they're not going to know if it's you or AI you taking the order, schmoozing the
Mm-hmm.
customer. It
Yep.
could be 5 years from now, 10, which is going to
Yeah.
make a big difference. Where we're looking at applying AI in the next year is customer analytics, right? Because the
Mm-hmm.
old school was, let's call people that ordered in 30 days,
Yeah.
right? New school with AI is every customer is an individual and they have individual buying habits and patterns and a cadence, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you might order once a year for your company's Christmas party, right? You bring in
Right.
Adam and Joe Knows Lunch. They do a nice spread for everyone. Then you have an admin who at a company does a lot of training. She's ordering in 3, 4 events a week because they have different training classes come in. You have pharmaceutical reps. And
Mm-hmm.
so where AI is going to be able to do is look at the velocity and the cadence of every customer. And it's going to be able to tell you, you need to reach out to Michael. He orders 3 times a week normally, and he's down to 2 times a week.
Yep.
You might want to find out why he's not ordering that extra time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or he used to spend $25 a head, and now he's spending $15 a head. You might want to find out why. Or he was ordering for
Yep.
25 people a time, now it's 15. So you're going to get so granular and so specialized, just like
Yeah.
so we're going to build that into our system. It's like TV stations. When you were a kid, you had 4 stations, right? You had
Yep.
ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS. Now you have 5,000.
I
ESPN
know. A million.
79.
Yep.
Midget wrestling, ESPN 79. There's something for everybody. So I think it's really cool. And I think what it's going to do is the people who do well, it's going to make them better. And the people who don't do well, it's going to put them out of business quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm guessing, just seeing what you've done and knowing your journey, the service level has probably been the best marketing you can do, because once you wow them,
Yeah.
they're not trying to save a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to that? Because I'm sure you have some great stories about.
Yeah. I think that is, and that's what I would say to anybody who's, looking to grow, their business, is the focus on the service is the entirety of it. And actually that's, in a couple of weeks, I'm speaking at Cater Source very specifically about being a partner, not just a vendor. And it's very,
Yeah.
very much relying on, the human touch and the service, and just wowing them with not just, having a great product, but being on time, having all the accoutrements that go with everything, just thinking ahead for them so that they don't have to worry about any of that.
How do you feel technology helps you do a better job with that?
I think technology helps with the being able to immediately give, confirmations, take their order immediately, have them, take the payment information immediately, and then have them have a hard copy for them that's tangible to see it immediately. I think that is, the faster the better, right? If someone calls you and says, I want a quote, and by the time we're ending the conversation, they already have it in their email, number one, they're shocked that they have it so quickly.
Right.
But number two, that's great. Now you've completed what they already have, what they need. They're not waiting on you. And
Right.
everybody can move on to whatever the next task is. The speed is immense. And then also, being able to look back at all of their old orders, or anything that someone's done similar to what they're doing, and pull that up very quickly is, it's invaluable.
Yeah, it's just, I think back when I had my restaurant, I did $1 million a year out of a barbecue restaurant with basically pen and paper,
Yeah.
and figured it out. And if I had some of the tools that are available, obviously, shameless plug that Caters Zen provides, it's like how much bigger I could have been
Yeah.
to not focus on the manual labor stuff and focus on some other stuff, and also be able to have all your customer data to be able to communicate to them and market to them
Yeah.
and what have you. So as you look forward, or what's next for your company? Is it, hey, I love what I'm doing and we're going to keep doing this? Is there another product line? Because, you see a lot of restaurants, they say, hey, we're known for our salad dressings or our cookies and we're going to
Yeah.
create, is there a what's next? Or you just, I know you have, how old are your kids?
5 and 10.
Yeah, so you're raising a young family, right?
Yeah.
So you've got soccer and dance and
Yeah.
braces and
Yeah.
everything to run around. What's next? Or
Yeah.
is it
So,
just you
yeah,
and your brother divide and conquer and you both have a good quality of life?
I think it's both. That's right. The whole point was to have a good quality of life, which we do. It's 3:30 and I could be at home already. I stayed to do this, and Adam
Thank you.
and his wife have already left. So it's as far as like hours, we've definitely been able to reduce them for ourselves. I mean, I would say 5 years ago, less than 5 years ago, well, pre-COVID, let's say, things changed after COVID, but it would not be unheard of for me to be at work at 6:37 a.m. and then not leave until 7 p.m.
Wow.
Because we just weren't as streamlined, even 5 years ago as we are now.
That's awesome.
But so quality of life has definitely improved for us. More, micro, us very, very specifically. Our area where we are is changing very significantly. So where we are in Fort Lauderdale is called the Uptown Business District, and it's actually the most concentrated area of business. We're not downtown at all, but it is the most concentrated area of businesses in like the South Florida area,
Right.
even though it's not downtown. And so for the last 30 plus years, this has not been a residential neighborhood. And because Florida is growing so much, they're building something like 1,000 apartments in this like
In your area?
yes, in this like 2 block radius of where we
Crazy.
are. And we just found out it's already been greenlit. They're bringing a super Target into our plaza where we are. So our literal like area right here where we are is going to be changing to a residential neighborhood. So we will most likely over the next 2 years, I would say, probably be expanding our hours to be nights and weekends, whereas, we've not done that. So those are other meal parts that we'll pick up that will probably also translate into, of course, more catering as more people are exposed to us and know us. So I think it'll all kind of, spoke out in that kind of direction. So,
Oh, very cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, the one thing that's constant is change. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, if you had to go to another city from scratch, obviously your dad wandered and mom wandered all
Yeah.
over the world for the food business.
Yeah.
What are the top 3 things you would do to build catering sales out of a restaurant?
Am I starting from scratch or am I joining
Scratch.
somebody else's business?
Well, it doesn't matter. It's a new restaurant to you, and you've got they have zero in catering
Yeah.
sales, right?
So for me, I would probably do the same thing my parents did, which is start real small, the smallest space with a hand sink I could find.
Right.
And I would start walking and we would be, I would want to be, literally as close as humanly possible to a big corporate park area. And I would literally just start walking and knocking on doors and saying, hi, I'm new. This is what we do. I have the menus ready to go and build from there.
Good old door to door
That's it.
relationship, and I mean that's the advantage that sampling food has. If your
Yeah.
food's good, at least they'll give you a shot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, in closing, anybody who's in the restaurant build business trying to grow their catering sales. I mean, you've talked about sampling. Is there any other secrets, tips, throwaway ideas that would be valuable?
One of the things that I've done over the years that I would say is has always been pretty successful. A couple of things I've done recently with like LinkedIn and like trying to get new people. I figure out which businesses I want to target very specifically on LinkedIn, and I will email the highest person I can find on LinkedIn. It might be the CEO, it might be the VP, SVP of HR, whoever the highest person I can find on LinkedIn is, and I will email them directly and say, "Hi, I am so and so. Can you please put me in contact with the person that orders catering for your business?"
Wow.
And almost always they respond and say, "Hey, this is who you need to contact." And so then when I contact this person, I can say, "Hey, your boss gave me your number, or gave me your email.
Wow.
Here's what I am selling." And, it's great.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm just going to say I got a great idea. I've used that before in cold email outreach.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn, that could be worth the whole interview. That little soundbite is so valuable. Like, that's phenomenal. I love that idea.
Yeah.
I freaking love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Another thing I've been doing recently, so number 2, is the people that I see on, I try to connect with as many people as I can on LinkedIn. When they get promoted or get a new job in the same area, I reach out to them and say, "Congratulations. I want to stop by with some cookies for you to enjoy with your new team." And then now they remember, fabulous. And, it's always people, local. I'm not sending something somewhere far.
Right.
And so now, they're super excited and, remember you and want to bring you over and have now got the menus and cookies at the new business.
Oh my God, that's amazing. When I used to do a lot of speaking, I told this story about the value of sampling. And did you ever sell world's finest chocolate covered almonds as a kid?
I know what you're talking about, but no.
Yeah. So I sold them, the Memphis Hebrew Academy in 3rd grade. I sold more than any other kid. There were a brother-sister team that beat me, but 2, they didn't sell twice as much as me. So I bought a box and I would go knock on the doors in the neighborhood and I'd introduce myself and I said, "Here, try one." First of all, they were amazing. So they either bought them because they loved them or they felt guilty because some kid gave them something for free. So the power of sampling is, it's really underestimated. A lot of people get it. A lot of people don't get it. It's super. Those are great ideas. Well, you have been a pleasure to interview today. I hope you have a great weekend. It's been great to know you and your family for all these years and see your success blossom and grow. I love seeing your stuff on LinkedIn, and I'm just amazed when I see some of these pictures. Like, the wow factor is incredible.
Thank you.
So thanks. And with that, I'm going to take us out.
You've been listening to Restaurant Catering Smarts. For more insights and episodes, make sure to follow along, subscribe, and share at caterzen.com.